morning. Kathy here from Kathy's Cute Creations. Today we're going to be doing the Fort Worth Fabric Studios Fir Good Measure Week 3. The block looks like that. And I'm going to show you the block. I went ahead and I made one of them. And I'm going to show you how I've pinned it and laid it out. So let's get started.
This, feels like the ending of my video instead of the beginning. Here's what the block is going to look like when you're done making it. So let's get started.
Right. This is what you should have left. You're going to have your A's. You're going to have your I and the H and the C. Now the H and the C are the same size, 2-inch squares. Your strips are 3.5 by 6.5, and then the square is 6.5 by 6.5. If you used your own fabric, this would be the perfect time to take this square and fussy cut it. You could even fussy cut the little 2-inch squares if you want to, or this, because you can actually lay this to the direction that you would want it in this square. But anyway, using the fabric that came with the kit, I've already shown you what it looks like. Now I'm going to show you how I put it together because I'm going to do it all chain stitching. I already started since I did it. So here's what I do first. And then I'm going to explain why I did this. I've already connected all my little 2-inch squares. Here they are. They're right sides together. And what I'm doing is, because I did it on the first one, I don't have another one to show you, but we'll do it together. I'm actually using red and green thread. So I have red thread in my bobbin, which is going to be at the bottom, and green in the top because I'm going to sew it like this. So the top will have the green and the bottom will have the red. That'll also test you on your tension because if you have it wrong, you'll see one of those colors on the wrong side of the fabric. Then I've already connected all of these. So I've done both the sides here, right sides together, to my square. And I'm using white on the top and red on the bottom. And I went ahead and I put it together in a cream color when I added it. I want to put the whole thing together. So let's get started and do that. So we're going to take 2 of these. And then I'm going to get my pens over here. You're going to put the right sides together. So you look to see where the right side is. That's my right side. And all I'm doing is pinning it on each end. So I'll just pin it here. And I pin it here. Flip it over. Repeat the process. Right sides together. Pin it here. And I'm only pinning it to hold it down because it will skew. It'll either go like this while you're trying to sew it, and then it'll be off, or it'll end up going like this while you're sewing it. Then it'll end up being off on that side. That's the only reason for the pinning. If you don't need to pin, then don't pin. It's going to be your call. And I'll set that aside. And then when it comes to C and H, and you really don't need to pin these if you don't want to. I wanted to go ahead and pin them because I was showing them to you. So you just take the 2 right sides together, match them up. Now let's say that you can take it right now like it is to your cutting board, or however you measured it. If you measured it with your ruler, measure it and make sure it's 2. And I'm going to say, let's pretend that you were off. Now this would be off a little bit. Let me see if I can. Okay. So let's say when you measured it, it came out to this, okay? That your block stopped right here. So you've lost 1/8 of an inch. So the first thing you're going to do is go, I wonder if I did that to all of them. So go ahead and measure them. Find out if you did that to all of them. If you did, now's when you're going to make it up in the sewing time. So instead of doing 1/4 of an inch, which is here, you're going to do 1/8 of an inch. Do it that way, and when you get done, you're going to measure the square itself. Let's say that you go ahead and you sew it. You open it up. You measure it. And does it equal 3.5? And you go, oh, it does. Then that's what you want to do on all of them that you've undercut the size. Alrighty? You can always make up for it when you sew. You can make the seam bigger or you can make the seam smaller to accommodate making the block the correct size. You're just going to have to play with it. Write it down on a little piece of paper so you can keep it straight in case you leave your project halfway through. When you come back, you don't sew it wrong. Just be mindful of that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it, put it together. I know that it's my 2-inch. It's correct. And if you have a machine that cuts your squares 2 inches, you can do that if you're using your own fabric. Now, I wouldn't suggest it for here because I don't think you can get lined up correctly, but I'm talking about like one of those Goes, the Baby or the Large Go or the Electric or Genie, the Sussex, all those different machines. If you've got the template to make the 2-inch square and you're using your own fabric and you want to do it, then there's no problem and you can do that, and then you won't have to cut all these out. And then I'm just going to stick it in my stack, and then we're going to get started sewing. And I'm going to show you how to make the entire block, and then you're going to repeat the block till we're all finished. Need 8 of these and 1 of these. So that's the first thing we're going to do, is we're going to do these 8. Like I said, we're going to chain stitch them. Let me make sure my sewing machine's set up, and it's all right. So the saying is 3 times a charm. I'm going to try this for the 3rd time to show you. I'm putting beeswax on my thread. I was using a different sewing machine that does not have a threader on it, and I was having a hard time trying to get that thread through, so I ran my thread through the beeswax. This is what I got in that Creative Notions. You can use that for embroidery thread or hand sewing. And I put on the thread to thread my needle. So let me see if I can get you closer here so that you can see it. And I have red fabric. I'm hoping you can see it with the red fabric. And see if you can see my needle. Because I don't know why this past week, but my eyes have been so tired. And I have rested them all week so I could do this video today. Let's see if I can even see my... Oh, I have fuzz built up. Okay, so I have to clip my... I guess when I used the beeswax, I pushed some of the thread fuzzies down to the end of it. Now let's see if I can thread my needle. There we go. It's threaded. So I'm going to grab it right here and just pull it. And it will stick to your tweezers, that's for sure. Okay. There you go. And then you're ready to go. It just takes a little bit more time, but it does work. It's just me difficulty seeing that little eye anymore. I hope that helps some of you out. All right, so let's begin. I took my pin out already, and I'm doing a 1/4 inch, and I just hit the wrong, the wrong pedal down there. Oh my goodness, I hope this isn't how my day starts. Okay, somehow, what did I got here? What thread is under? There we go. Let's make sure it... Yep, it worked. Oh, and you can probably see my red thread back there. Okay. Let's take the next one, and we're just chain stitching. I'm taking my pin out every time that I get ready to do the next one. And my pin cushion is pretty empty because I used every pin in there to pin all these things together. That's why I was using this wristlet, that's what I call it, when I was pinning the other to show y'all. So I'll be filling up my pin cushion here. Just take your time. Looks like I'm running short on my red bobbin already too. And I don't have another one, so I'll have to stop and actually fill that. And down to the last one here. And the reason that you chain stitch all of these ahead of time, if you're doing like me and you're using the 2 different colors of thread, so that if you do 1 block at a time, then when you get done here, you're going to have to turn around and change your thread out. But not yet. So now clip all these apart and you iron them just like you would normally, you know, set your seam. We're going to pin these together. They're going to look like this when they get pinned. So you're going to put them right sides together and you're going to nestle those little seams. Now when I ironed mine, I ironed them all towards the green. You want to make sure they go the same direction. How ironic, this is my first piece too. Okay. So let me get it pinned. I'm not going to pin the first. I'm just going to line it up. Well, I'm going to have to because I'm a, let's see. Yeah, I'm going to have to. I have a little, let me see if I can show you here. All right. See how it's got a little waviness going on right there? That means the back piece is a little bit bigger. So I'm putting it on the bottom when I sew it so that it'll feed it in. Now, if you want to measure this rectangle that you have here, the green and the red one together, you can. Let me get my ruler out here. Let's see if it's going to be easier to do it on the back side, the front side, so I can show you guys. Oh, here, front side will work just great. All right, let's see here. So you take your ruler and I put it on the edge of the green and come over to the red. And this is what you're looking at right here where my finger's at. That's the 3.5 mark. See it? 3.5. That's what you want. You want the distance from this end, this corner here, to that corner there. I'm sorry about this. I've got myself straddled around this camera. To be 3.5. And so when I sew this, the back is just a little bit bigger. And it could be that my seam, when I started right here, I'm not quite a 1/4 of an inch. Okay? Because it's off of the green there. But that's going to be fine because since it's this little bit, when it gets sewn, it'll go like that. And it'll be just perfect. And then I'll show you if you have to trim it. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to sew all of these, and I'm going to pin them and chain stitch them. There you go. And while I was pinning this, I was thinking about something that was kind of funny. I thought I'd share with y'all. Okay, so when my kids were little, and I was a stay-at-home mom at the very beginning because I have twins, and it would have cost more money for a babysitter than it would had I stayed at home, even though we didn't have 2 nickels to rub together, which is the way a lot of people started. Even my parents started that way, and my ex-husband's family started that way also. We're a military family. But anyway, so I sewed the kids' clothes. The cookies were never bought at the store, the cakes, the pies, none of that was ever bought at the store. My kids didn't even know that came in a store. They thought that you made them. Well, one day they wanted some cookies and we didn't have any cookies. And so my son says, he goes, "Could you make us a cookie?" And I went, "What do you mean make you a cookie?" And he goes, "You know, a cookie." I said, "Oh, well, when I make the cookies, I don't make just one cookie. I have to make an entire batch of cookies." He goes, "I thought you made one cookie at a time." And I said, "No, that's not how you make cookies." So this is kind of the first lesson that they had where they actually shared making cookies so they could understand that it was an entire batch when it got made. I don't know how or why he thought that when he got a cookie that I actually made one cookie at a time, but I thought it was kind of funny. I thought I'd share that with y'all. Some of the things the kids come up with or the way their little minds think. Alrighty, one more to go here. And this should have our corners. And then we're going to measure this block. It's okay if the block is too big. It's where we've got to do adjustments if it's too small. Because we can always trim it down if we have to. Your block's supposed to look like that when you're done. And I went ahead and I used the green and the red thread. Now measure it. I just take my ruler, go on top up here. It's a little bit bigger than 3.5, but I will not trim it down. And when I say, let me show you how much bigger it is. This is what you call a skosh. If y'all ever knew what a skosh was. Okay, see how much bigger it is? Not an eighth, but just a little bit. So I will go ahead and attach this. That's when I get finished attaching them all that I'll cut it down. When I say cut it down, you're looking at an amount coming off like this. If you can see about like that will come off. That's what'll get trimmed like that. Where you'll go ahead and you'll chain stitch all of these so that you've got these all done. And then go back to this if you're going to use a different color. If you're just going to use the same color thread, I just chain stitch all these. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make all of these first, set them all aside. Then I'm going to chain stitch all of these, set them aside, and then I'm going to put them all together. Right now I'm going to go ahead and stop and change my top color out. Take out the green and put the white in so I can show you how to do this before we put it together. Okay, excuse me, I wasn't using white. I'm actually using cream, just like I was before. And I'm using a 2.5 inch length, using a 12-inch needle. That's my go-to standard, unless I'm told otherwise or I feel like it's not working for me. Now the machine that's downstairs, my Singer that I'm going to be doing a little something on here, it takes an 11 needle, not a 12. It doesn't like a 12. So I have to buy 11 needles for that. And if your machine is particular like that, that's one of the reasons I try to buy the same exact machine, because then all the feet will fit it and everything will interchange with them. Uh-oh, somebody hears somebody. I tried to get that little girl to come up here and she would not come up. I think this room is too cold. I still have the air conditioner in the window. Otherwise this room will get too hot. Let's go ahead and iron it open. Now, this is how I pin it. Oh, wait a minute. Now that we've done this, we have to take these and we're going to attach them to each end of this because we're going to be putting this in strips. So take your right sides together. And I'm going to do it this way because I need to be seeing this seam. So I'm pinning where the seam is at. And I'm going to do both sides because they're far enough away. And this is what you're looking at. When you're looking at your picture, I've already pinned this, so I looked at my picture to see that this is going to be down here because the red is on the outside block. The green is on the outside block, and this green is on the outside block. So there is a right way or a wrong way to do this if you're going based on your picture. So that's going to be my bottom one, like this. There we go. And then the top one, we want the red on the outside. So the red goes like this, and the red goes like that. So we're going to pin this. There we go. And now we're going to chain stitch. I'll do this one and this one. Then I'll turn around and do it the other direction. And I changed out my bobbin thread because it was red. The back of this is white. Remember, I'm against the white thread. So I'm not using green or red on the top. I'm just going ahead and using the cream color that I've got. Just take your time. my fingers aren't in the way of this. Now remember, you can mark this with your pencil if you want. You can mark it with your friction pen or whatever you're using for your marking tool. If you're using some kind of chalk pencil, you can go ahead and mark all this, all these lines. You don't have to be doing any kind of guesswork about it. Now we just cut these apart, and then I'll iron them and open them up and let you look at them. All right, so this is the way we're going to be pinning them. We're keeping our red at the top, so the red goes away, and the same with the bottom. The reds go away. And when I ironed this one, I ironed towards the color, not the white. And then when I ironed this one, I did the same thing. Well, that one looks like it's backwards, but it goes to the color. And the reason is so that you can nestle these. For some reason, this block was being stubborn, but that's all right. And then it'll nestle like this. Just like this right here. And that's where you're going to be doing all that pinning. And then when we're done with it, I'll show you in case, just by some coincidence or accident or whatever, your block is a little bit off. I'll show you how to fix that. Let's hope it's off for the big, not the small, because then you'll have to make up for it when it comes time to sew it all together. But even that's not a problem. Because, you know, if your block doesn't come out to be 12.5 inches, that's fine, because you can make your borders bigger. There's been many times where when I got done, it wasn't, see, now this is going to be a little bit bigger, so that's fine. When I got done making something, I felt like it was maybe like an inch too small, you know, for what I wanted to use it for. And I thought, well, heck, I'll just put something fancy on it and change it, because I made it and I want it to be my size. And, it, you know, in my mind, I had it one way, and then when I got done, it was a different way. So it just helped me out. And then it ended up being the size I wanted it. And I've done it many a time. So after you get that pinned, I went ahead and I pinned the other side. So let me go ahead and pin that. Now we're going to sew both sides together here, one at a time. But when you do it after this one block, if you're just doing this one block to see if it comes out before you start doing them, then you can just chain stitch it, and they'll all seem like they're done at the same time. That's the good thing about chain stitching. We're going to iron it open. You can see that little bit. I'm talking about right here. So what I do is I'm going to put my ruler on the tip of that. And what I've done is I measured the distance between here and here. And so I'm putting the tip of my ruler on the white here. And this little bit right there, that's that skosh I was talking about, is going to come off of my block. Now yours might not even need that, but mine does, and it only needs on this corner. So that's what I'm going to take off. If yours does not need it, then don't be taking it off. And if you're not sure, then don't do anything either, because I am right on the corner. I mean, there is such a little amount. As you can see, that's all it was, is this teeny weeny bit, which made that straight. All right, that's when I was showing you before. If there's ever just a smidgen that needs to be removed. And it usually looks like that, just a little bit. But I wanted to do that just to show you in case that shows up on yours and you're thinking, what the heck? I don't understand it. And if you note, this has got a little bit too, and I mean a little bit. And you always put it at the edge. And when I say the edge, you should not be able to see when you go to the edge here on this corner and you put your ruler down, and you can use a colored ruler if you want, but you should be able to look on the very tip top up here and not see any fabric here and any fabric there at all when you line this up. Same down here. You line it up and you see no fabric. I mean, it has to be on that fabric before you do any kind of trimming. This little bit right here needs to be trimmed. That little bit right there, which is just like the threads. And then that's perfect right there.
There it is on the design wall. Completed. I have 10 blocks. I got one squeezed right down there. I needed to count them. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up if you did. Subscribe. And next week, we are going to put the entire thing together. So I will see you next week to finish it up, which would be week 4. And I know y'all are excited about that. So I will see you Monday the 25th. And then everybody can say it's 1 month of Christmas next week. Isn't that something? I think the year's gone by pretty fast. Well, take care, everybody. Bye-bye. Thanks for watching.